Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, is this Kimberly?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Who is Kimberly? Why do the Salida police want to talk to her?
Hello, and thank you for your call. Leave a voicemail for Kimberly Parker, and you'll get a call back as soon as possible. Thank you. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, Kimberly. This is Officer Master Salida PD. I gotta pass on some information to you from the Sure Stay Hotel. If you could give me a call back at your earliest convenience. Thanks. Bye.
Who is Kimberly Parker? Kimberly Parker was the executive director of Full Circle Restorative Justice, a local nonprofit. Full Circle say they provide restorative justice for the youth in Chaffee County. What is restorative justice? Restorative justice is defined by its founder as using humanistic, not punitive strategies to right wrongs and restore social harmony. Restorative justice staff facilitate their own judge and jury practices when a crime is committed. Their practice is to try and foster dialogue between victim and offender, often engaging affected community members. Under restorative justice, the police and formal court processes are completely avoided. The hope is to keep young people out of the criminal justice system, out of the school to prison pipeline. But who is Kimberly Parker? In 2018, Kimberly ran as the Democratic candidate for Chaffee County Commissioner. She had just moved and not very many people in the county knew her, so some began looking into her past. They were surprised by what they found. Kimberly lost the commissioner race in a close battle, despite the questions about her past. A reader of the Salida Mountain Mail looked into Kimberly Parker's past. In an October 2018 letter she wrote that Kimberly Parker had changed her name 3 times. From Kimberly Russell, to Kimberly Stacy, and to Kimberly Edwards. Kimberly never publicly addressed this issue. To this day we don't know the reason for her using multiple aliases. So, who is Kimberly Parker? In 2016, Kimberly worked in Boulder for the University of Colorado. According to the Boulder Daily Camera, she sued the university for sexual harassment after being fired. The University of Colorado paid $80,000 to Kimberly, who sued, saying she was being harassed by an administrator. However, an independent inquiry found that the administrator's actions didn't violate CU's sexual misconduct policy. The administrator was described as a father figure to Kimberly. Kimberly chose to travel with him, and he even gave her away at her wedding. That's an odd way to treat your harasser. Nevertheless, the university decided to settle the suit. But, why do the Salida police want to talk to Kimberly? To understand why, we go to the Salida High School in September 2021. A 15-year-old former student went to the school nurse to get tested for COVID-19. He became very agitated when he tested positive, left the school, and walked to his grandmother's house. He told his grandmother he had a gun, was going to blow his head off, and started walking toward the school. His grandmother called 911 and told the dispatcher he had a gun and was headed to the school. The police immediately began looking for the student. The high school principal, Talmage Trujillo, intercepted the student outside of the school, and took him to a nearby McDonald's. Principal Trujillo would not divulge the location of the student to the police. The high school was put on a high-security lockdown. The students inside the school were traumatized, fearing that a potential shooter was on the loose. In a phone call, the superintendent of schools told Trujillo to take the student to the nearby Salida Crest Academy. That's where the police caught up with the student and the principal. The police found no gun, and escorted the student out of the building. The video and audio are redacted to protect the identity of the student.
When you say stuff like that, we have to take it seriously, and we have to do our job, you know. So that's all it is.
The student apologized and said he did not mean to cause a big scene. The student was not criminally charged, but put into contact with clinicians at Sol Vista Health. Sol Vista Health is the local Salida mental health care provider. He was then taken to his grandmother's house to await the clinicians from Sol Vista. However, instead of the student waiting at his grandmother's house for the clinicians to create a safety plan for his well-being, the student was taken to the Shore Stay Hotel by Kimberly Parker. Why did Kimberly think she was going to handle the troubled teen better than a professional mental health care provider? Kimberly is not licensed in the state of Colorado to provide mental health care. Could it be because restorative justice preaches the avoidance of the criminal justice system? Did the restorative justice heuristic lead Kimberly and Talmage to convince the student to avoid the clinicians from Sol Vista? Not only did they avoid the clinicians, but Kimberly had to sneak the underage, COVID-19 positive student into the hotel.
Okay. Okay. So just so I can make sure I have everything correct, you were the one that had explained to them.
Right, after we had found out.
And they came in here.
No, sir, this is all over the phone.
Over the phone. You explained to them,
Right.
no, you're not allowed to rent a room. No, he's not allowed to stay here by himself.
Correct.
And then they ended the phone call understanding that and then went and did it online,
Correct.
bypassing you.
Correct.
And then had somebody else come in to obtain the
To
keys.
obtain the keys, correct.
perfect.
Absolutely. So,
Once the staff at the Shore Stay Hotel found out they had an underage, COVID-19 positive student staying with them, they called Kimberly Parker.
Sure.
doing my investigation.
And then you guys called her.
Right,
and
to find
said-
out what's going on. I was like, okay, so I need to know what's going on with this kid. Because I
Yeah.
knocked on his door and I talked to him. He told me that he was positive and underage. So I called her. I was like, look, this is unacceptable. You were told no. This child is underage, and actually the check-in is 21. And the fact that he's has COVID too is affecting our business. We can't have that. She says, well, I can't do anything of that. I've washed my hands of him. And that's what she told me.
Wow. Kimberly, that's cold. Perhaps it's time the people of Salida washed their hands of Full Circle and not allowed them unfettered, unaccountable access to our children. Eventually the troubled student was put in touch with the proper authorities. Principal Talmage Trujillo was arrested, tried, and convicted of obstruction of a police officer and harboring a minor. Kimberly Parker testified as a character witness at Trujillo's trial, but her part in this story was never completely revealed until now. At this point you just might be wondering how Kimberly and Talmage knew each other? And how intertwined are Salida schools with Full Circle? At the time, Talmage Trujillo sat on the board of Full Circle Restorative Justice headed by Executive Director Kimberly Parker. Since Talmage's conviction he has left the employ of both the Salida school system and the Full Circle board. His position on the Full Circle board was filled by another high school principal. Full Circle and Salida schools are also connected in that one of the employees of Full Circle Restorative Justice sits on the Salida school board. If you are wondering who funds Full Circle Restorative Justice, look in the mirror. In 2020, Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser awarded Full Circle a grant worth $50,000 per year for 2 years. Not surprisingly, this is not the only controversy restorative justice had been involved in. According to the investigative law group, in 2021, an assault on a student was reported to the Salida High School. The parent wanted to pursue criminal charges. Talmage Trujillo referred the case to Full Circle and told the parent that the police did not want to press charges. The parent contacted the police and were told Trujillo never told them of the complaint. The case was investigated, and felony charges were filed against the assailant. Restorative justice principles require that the victim be willing to use restorative justice techniques. Was the assaulted student ever given the option? Did Full Circle Restorative Justice follow its own rules? Is the role of high school principal as a restorative justice advocate a conflict of interest that endangers the safety and well-being of our children? Kimberly Parker left Full Circle Restorative Justice in June of 2022. Her reason for leaving was not given. Full Circle has recently hired a new director, Eric Lee. He says he plans to continue the success that Kimberly laid the groundwork for.
This opportunity for me is a prime example of divinity at work. I feel very fortunate that the search committee felt that I was a perfect fit for this important position. And I'm going to do my very best to continue the success my predecessor Kimberly laid the groundwork for, with a solid foundation.
Let me ask you, in this story, who is the victim, and who is the offender? I'd say the victim were the hundreds of frightened students who were put in lockdown while the police searched for a reported gunman. I'd say the offender was the principal, who would not reveal the agitated student's location to the police. Will Full Circle Restorative Justice's new director foster a dialogue between these victims and the offender? Will Trujillo apologize to the students and the community? If they did, then that truly would be restorative justice.